the project really got started about 2 years ago, way back in September 2021, when the Zero Emissions Transit Fund was out there. So we started looking at that. We have a general yearly attrition of our buses. So we started looking at this and figuring out that if we can get a grant from the government to basically pay for our buses that we're going to replace anyways, we may as well look at this project. So we started looking at it, started working with Eco West out of Winnipeg, Danny Arubido. They've been really, really good, and started through that project there, which then transitioned into the RTSF, which was a better fit for our program. We had a study done by a consultant out of Quebec. We sent him all of our information, our gas mileages, our gas consumption, our mileage for all these buses every year. And throughout the course of probably 3 months, back and forth with Eve, we finally got a study done for us. And then we went forward with Eco West, and went into the RTSF and started that application process. So that's how it all got started.
So maybe let's step back for a second, because I'm even new to your work. What does your service currently look like? How many vehicles do you have? What type of vehicles do you have? All of that kind of stuff.
Okay, so our service encompasses a pretty big range. We service the town of Stonewall, the RM of Rosser, the RM of Woodlands, and half of the RM of Rockwood. So the southern half. So that's that. We have one Dodge Caravan rear loader. We have a Dodge ProMaster, which holds 6, and a wheelchair, and that's a rear loader. And then we have two 14-passenger buses, a Chevy and a Ford. The Ford we just got a year ago, so pretty happy about that. It holds 14, 3 wheelchairs, and I think we get about 8 people in there when we got 3 wheelchairs in there.
So you guys have quite a big, that's a lot of vehicles. Are you using them? Like, what's your ride? Like, how many rides are you guys doing typically in a month?
Well, I mean, in a typical day, I have 3 buses going. Usually the little one is sitting back unless we absolutely need it. It's great, handy to go downtown Winnipeg to the Winnipeg Clinic and stuff like that. But for the most part, we have 3 buses running all day long. So there's a little bit of gap in the morning between about 9:30 and 11, but after that, we're fairly consistent throughout the day. So how many rides we do a month, I'd have to figure it out. But I mean, we do a lot for Association for Community Living. We take care of the adult day program here in Stonewall, and we do a lot of medical appointments into Winnipeg. So the word is getting out that about our service. It's a subsidized service because all the 4 partners contribute into it. So it's all a subsidized service, which works really good for everybody, and the prices are very, very reasonable.
So when you say your partners, you're referring to the municipalities that contribute?
In the town of Stonewall, yeah.
Yeah.
And that contribution is all based on the number of rides, the number of kilometers, and all that we do for all these. And then we come up with a formula and figure out how much each region pays. So.
And was it always a pretty willing contribution? Like, were municipalities pretty eager to do it?
Oh yeah. No, we don't have any issues whatsoever. Our municipalities contribute without any problem at all. I send the bill out, they send the money back, and they're the ones that help us make the budget and everything else. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So one question for you, do you guys just serve older adults, or are you doing all populations? How does that work for you guys?
All populations. Currently we're taking care of a young lady who broke her right leg and can't drive anymore. So we take her to her appointment. So we have criteria that has to be met. And if that criteria is met, then we're allowed to transport them. So we take care of, like I said, ACL, some young kids over there. Adult day program is just what it sounds like. So we take care of a range of people. So.
That's cool. That's very cool. I put in the chat, if anybody has questions specific as we go along, just pop them in there, put your microphone if you want. Okay, so let's go back to the grant. So has anybody in Canada done this type of, I know like bigger cities are doing some electrification. Is there any other rural communities that have done this in Canada?
Not that I don't know about Canada, but I know in Manitoba, as far as I know, there's nobody else that's done this electrification. So I think we're the first, so.
Okay. You were saying before we jumped on, so you're kind of like the risks associated with going into electrification. And this was one of the questions that when I was at the AGM, we're kind of talking like pros, cons. Can you share some of those pieces where you guys did have your red flags of like, ooh, is this actually going to work?
Well, the biggest red flag for us is being in Stonewall. We're close enough to the city. There's actually apps out there that will actually show you where there's chargers available to us. But the biggest risk is, or issue is for us, is the technology is not quite where it needs to be as far as I'm concerned, and that's my personal opinion. I don't think the technology is exactly where it's supposed to be. I mean, when you buy one of these Ford Transit buses, you're only going to get 160 to 200 kilometers before you need a charge. So now we had one on loan from us from Move Mobility. We ran it for a couple of days. It was pretty interesting, but you're really paying attention to the monitor that tells you how much further you can go. And on a single charge, we went from Stonewall to Winnipeg, back to Stonewall, up to Woodlands and back, and then up to Toulon. And when Tony got back, he only had 16 kilometers left on the charge. So it had to be charged overnight, but it does pretty good.
That is pretty good,
for us.
actually. How many kilometers is Stonewall to Winnipeg?
About 22.
Okay, so actually that's a pretty big, you got a lot of trips out of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little scary. We've been trying to get it back, see what happens if they're going to lend it to us again, but it is kind of fun to watch, and you don't even know it's running. It's very quiet. And obviously the biggest concern, the other concern is going to be, is in the wintertime trying to heat it because you're running off your batteries again, right? So the mileage goes down. And from what I understand, we had a meeting at Gardwine last Thursday. Gardwine already runs these buses, or these not buses, but these vans, the Ford Transit electric ones. They already run them as cargo delivery vans in the city. We were there. It was actually pretty cool to watch them, and they're telling us that the Ford system is pretty neat. It's kind of like a Tesla, but as you drive, the circle on your screen gets smaller and smaller, and inside that circle, it shows you where all the chargers are. And these guys run them all morning. Go for lunch, plug them in, and come back, and they're ready to go for the afternoon. So it's pretty interesting technology.
There was a question, was your van loaded with passengers?
Yep.
So how many people were in it at that time when you were testing?
The Ford Transit that Move Mobility lent us was only a regular one, so there was only enough for 3 people and a wheelchair in there. We had to take the second row seats out because you would never get the wheelchair in. So we're looking at the extended version, which gives us another 2.5 feet. So we'll be able to put the row of chairs back in and still be able to carry but yeah, there was always there was probably 1 or 2 people in a wheelchair in there. So
Okay, that was my question too. What is the recharge time for a full charge?
okay, so a recharge time, it depends on if you get a level 1 or I mean a level 2 or a level 3 charger. A level 2 charger will probably, according to what we've learned at Gardwine, they're usually recharged with a higher end voltage. Level 2 charger, you're usually recharged within 2 to 3 hours. If you find a level 3 charger, you're charged back to 80% within 20 minutes.
So how readily available are the fast charging ones around Winnipeg?
Really, they're just about everywhere. The app, we have an app, it's called PlugShare, and it shows you wherever you just punch in what you're looking for, and it'll show you where they all are around you. So our biggest concern is we're trying to get EcoWest to work with the hospitals to put these chargers in at the hospitals and give handy van services like all of us priority to those chargers during the daytime. At night, we don't really need it, but just to try to get some kind of priority sequence for us to be there rather than general public, right?
Yeah. The other question to go along with that. So what is the cost to install and what is the monthly hydro charge for? Because I'm assuming you guys have to install a charging station on your end.
Yeah, we got approved for 19 charging stations. It was 11 level 2 and 9 level 3 chargers. And the the cost to install these things with the charger, a level 3 charger is about $140,000 installed, anywhere between 140 and $160,000. A level 2 is not quite that much. I think a level 2 charger is only about $15,000. And I'm not sure about the install cost on that level 2, but it's going to be the biggest cost of a lot of people is going to be the upload of, or the change of power to go from the level 2 to level 3, because now hydro has to come in and you have to get more power to that charger, right? So.
And so would that look like you guys installing a charging station? Like, where do you store your vans currently?
We store our vans currently at Rosewood Lodge, and we've actually been approved inside of that grant to upgrade our facility. So we're looking at another facilities to upgrade it to the tune of about $300,000 to put the charging stations in and get our own bus garage, right? So that's what we're working on right now.
That's awesome. So you guys definitely put in a big chunk of change to get that grant. Was it pretty limited and like you could only do the charging stations, or was it like a full encompassing system?
It's a full encompass grant. Like, you had to tell them what you wanted the money for. There were certain criteria what you could have money for and what you couldn't have money for. And we just followed the criteria, and along with Eco West, who really helped us out a lot. And
that's awesome. So there was a few people who jumped on late. Which grants did you guys go through again?
we went through we started with the ZETF, which was a Zero Emissions Transit Fund. We started there. And then when the Rural Transit Solution Fund, the RTSF, came out, we switched to that one because it was a better fit for what we were looking to do. We've also applied for the Conservation and Climate Fund from the province. And I was just informed today that there's an announcement at Quarry Park on Friday at noon. So sounds like we're going to get money from the province.
That's awesome. So beyond the grant, how are you guys positioning yourself for funding for sustainability? Like, how much cost does it cost to like update the chargers or fix them, or what's like the van cost compared to regular? Like, that was multiple questions, but sustainability.
There's lots of questions. Yeah, there's really no maintenance to these charging stations whatsoever if it breaks down. But when you buy a charging station, you can actually get like a extended warranty program for that for 5 years. So that's all covered in the monthly fee. What was your other question?
In terms of like fixing vehicles, actually, because we know that's a big cost for people.
Well, fixing vehicles, from what I understand, there's really not much to fix on these things. It's just an electric engine. You're not replacing brakes because there is no really brakes. It's an engine brake. It just slows down by itself. The biggest expense is going to be like tires. That's it, and electrical charges, right? So we're not sure where the electrical charge is going to come in. I got another meeting with Gardwine who are going to help us out with that because they've got, I don't know, they got quite a number of these buses. So
okay. I know one thing in the electrification world, people talk about the batteries. So what's the lifespan of those and what's the cost to replace them? Do you know?
The warranty on the batteries are anywhere from 8 to 12 years. So it's quite a warranty program. I have no idea what it costs to replace them. And what do you do with them after they're done? Apparently, from what I understand, there's a lot of people that buy these batteries and power their houses off of them. So set up a solar system and charge them. And yeah.
That could be an interesting project in Stonewall.
Yeah. I got a question here. How did you fund the study the folks in Quebec did? So basically how we funded that was all the partners agreed it cost about $15,000 for us to do that study, and all the partners programmed in, participated in doing that, and actually Sam's paid for it by itself. So
okay, so what, and again, if you're joining late, the partners you are referring to are your municipal contributors.
Right. The RM of Woodlands, the RM of Rosser, the RM of Rockwood, the southern portion, in the town of Stonewall.
What's your population sizes for that area? Do you know?
I'd have to look at my grant, but my grant application, but I'm going to say just over, well, I know that the southern half of Rockwood is 5, we're 5. So I'm going to say like 13,000, 14,000 people.
Okay, that's a decent size.
Yeah.
So I know, I don't know if you were familiar with what they're doing in the southern part of, like the Southeastern Transit Project, because Eco West is working with them as well. They were looking at expanding into doing like regular shuttle services into the city. Do you guys ever plan to do that? Like if you have, because how many vehicles are you getting for your grant?
We're getting two Ford E Transits.
And so is that gonna stay, are you gonna use those in addition to your other four, or you're
No,
gonna?
no, we'll retire the minivan. There's
Okay,
some of us that want to keep the ProMaster, and there's some that want to get rid of it, but I'm kind of leaning towards it because there's days where I could use a fifth vehicle. So, and the two big buses, I mean, the two big buses, when we were working with Eve, there's a company in Quebec called Lyon, and those buses to replace $398,000 to replace our two big buses each. And it just doesn't pay for us to do the big buses because we'd never get our return.
so you're saying to replace one of those electric vans, it's 390,000?
No, I'm talking about the big buses, Samantha, the 14 passenger
Oh,
buses, those two big buses. It doesn't pay for us to replace them because the cost is too high right at this time.
okay, okay,
The
gotcha.
the price of an electric handy van. So basically what it is we're looking at the Ford Transit extended version, which like I said earlier, gives us another 2.5 feet in the back. And the price is $160,000. That's converted for us.
So that's actually not too far off from some of the other vans. Like when you're looking at some of those bigger vans in Canada right now, that's gas.
Well, our big bus cost when we replaced it, was it a year ago? Yeah, it was just over about a year and a half ago. It was 106,000. That was for the big bus. So it's not too far off.
No, that's not bad at all, actually. I thought it'd be a lot higher than that. Interesting. There was a question, so what did the planning study identify? Was it needed to feed into the RTSF grant? And to confirm, you use the capital stream of so the RTS, oh gosh, RTSTF, I can't talk right now.
RTSF, Rural Transit Solutions.
Yeah, there you go. Just for anybody who doesn't know the acronym, apparently I
So
can't
to
talk.
answer Kayla's questions, the planning study identified what type of buses we're going to buy. So as I said earlier in the conversation, we know that we're not replacing our two big buses because the cost is too great and the rate of return would not be worth it. And it also identified where we would need charging stations, how much chargers are, where we're going to put these chargers, what type of chargers, level 2, level 3. And the grant, the study was needed for the RTSF, yes. And we use the capital stream, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. I had another question, but I forget. Does anybody else have questions in the chat? I totally had one, but it's slipping my mind.
I'm gonna double check.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. Was that 160 US for the vans or
It's
100?
160,000 Canadian.
That's actually
I'm making sure that's right. Just give me one. I'm just looking at. Yeah, $160,000 for a converted for a converted handy van. Yeah, 160,000, and that's for the Ford Transit, E-Transit extended version.
I'm actually really impressed. That's a lot less than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So what is your timeline for all of this rolling out?
Well, we're just trying to get all our ducks in a row right now. Once we sign the contract and put in the project start date, we have 2 years to complete it. So we're still just working. We're still just working on where we're putting these charging stations and working with the municipalities to make sure that they give us land that's accessible for us. The power's there. And so we're going to be signing that contract and getting it back to them probably within the next couple of weeks. So that's how close we are. And the project will start.
So how did you guys map out? Is it like you picked specific routes that you're typically taking where you put the charging station, or what's the logic behind it?
Well, the hard part about all of this is you have to have a crystal ball and figure out where you're going to be going in the future, because you want to make sure that the charging stations are in a place um, where you're going to need them, including what's going to happen in the future. So you just basically look at our regions and stuff like that and figure out where you go the most, where we would have to charge if we wanted to charge. You put those we work with our partners to give us some land for the charging station, and then Hydro has to do their overlay to make sure there's enough power there and all that kind of stuff. So it is a big undertaking.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And I know the province right now, I know the provincial government right now is in its planning stages or in its infancy stages of a provincial wide charging network. So that's being worked on right now. From what I understand, it's in the hands of Manitoba Hydro to the places where they need charging stations in the province has been identified, and Hydro has it now to put their overlay on top of it to see if it would work and how much more electricity to those places they would need, right? So that's in the works too. So
That's interesting. There was a question back, how many passengers does the van hold?
the two buses will hold. We'll be able to get both rows of seats back in there, so you'll have seven people and a wheelchair.
Okay, so 8, that's not bad. I know you didn't have the cost, but there was a question about replacement costs for the batteries.
Yeah, I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
That's okay. What exact?
I figured an 8 to 10 year warranty is pretty good.
Yeah, that is a really good warranty. So I would assume it lasts a little bit longer than that.
And this technology is changing like crazy. Like every day there's something else that comes up technology wise. And now there's hydrogen. Now they're looking at hydrogen. Now they're looking at sodium batteries. So this stuff is changing quite quickly. So
when you guys really set out to do this project, was the desire more innovation? Was it the cost savings? Did you guys look at the cost savings between like the diesel and electric, or was it purely because there was grants available?
well, that cost savings came in the study for us, right? So they basically kind of guesstimated what our cost savings would be. I mean, it's innovation. It's trying to be cleaner for the environment and stuff like that. And that's what was the driving force behind this, right? So a little bit of innovation. Nobody's ever done it. And, the environment and stuff like that, because we do a lot of trips to the city every day.
Yeah. So there's a question, what is the cost per charging station are you expecting for hydro per month?
That I don't know yet.
Do you know any of the typical, like, other ones that people would have installed? Like, did you get any cost analysis for those?
No.
Okay.
Not yet, no.
I guess probably in your study, you reviewed the cost of like repairing your regular diesel engine or gas engine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is, I know, a huge thing for many communities. Is there any other questions do you guys have? I feel like we've kind of gone around the different topics. Do they have those vans pretty readily available? I know someone asked that.
About a year out.
Okay.
So we order it, we'll get it in a year.
And then if something has to be fixed on it, I know you said it's pretty minimal what they fix, but is there a readily available of parts? Like, where do you take it to get fixed?
Well, I know Steeltown Ford has a charger there, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure, but we'll probably start with them and see if they could fix it. But more and more Ford dealers, for example, if that's the route that we go, we'll get more adept at fixing these vehicles, right? So
Do you guys currently have like a mechanic in-house or at your municipality that does your?
nope, Stonewall Tire does basically all of our repairs, and once in a while we'll run the big bus over to Ford. So
Okay. Oops, sorry. Do you know of other Manitoba communities that are interested in running electric handy vans?
no, I don't know that. No.
Okay. Actually, Kayla said Selkirk is looking into it, just underneath it. Oh, there was one question. What exactness did the study provide in identifying charger location? Just the city, or did it show you?
Yeah, no, it just showed us that we needed what, for example, we would need one in Grosse Isle. So now we go back to that municipality, which is one of our partners, and say, we need some land that's, accessible from the highway. And we go have a look at it and see if it's up to what we need to, and if the power's there for us and those kind of things. So, no, it just tells you basically where they think you need one, right? So,
Were these charging stations that you got funding for, were they more rural, or were there actually some that you have to install in the city?
no, there's none in the city. Like, the city's taking care of the city. I think it identified Winnipeg, but we're not gonna do it. There was some talk, and there still is some talk, that we might get something close to the Inkster and Route 90, because that's still in the arm of Rosser.
Mm,
So we'll see. So we're gonna look at that too. So, and I think Eco West is still working with the regional health authorities to try to get charging stations at some of the hospitals. That would be a
yeah,
big benefit to us.
that would be a big one, right? Because most of the handy van programs are doing medical transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know, like, through another project, Eco West uses that company in Quebec. Do they typically work with like small communities? They'll work with anybody? Is it?
They work with anybody. I mean, we had no problem with him at all. He's got some big projects going on in Quebec. He's very, very knowledgeable. He's very, very knowledgeable when it comes to electrification of your fleet and stuff like that. So he's got a couple of bus companies that they're working with and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's awesome. DeSalvo is also thinking about it, but being that we're further from the city, we're afraid that we might not be able to do trips on a single charge.
how far is it from Salaberry to Winnipeg?
DeSalvo, so that's like St. Pierre, St. Malo, if I'm correct. I know Charisse. Yeah, I think she's St. Pierre. So that would be what, 30 minutes? 50 kilometers, so 40 minutes.
So basically what would happen is you would just drive into the city and find a charger. Basically probably go to the hospitals in the southern. And like I said, there's an app you can get on your phone, depending on if you go with the Ford program. It shows you where all the chargers are available. And the good thing about it, from what I understand, is when you pull up to a charger, the charger is identified. The charger identifies you, and the bus. You charge it, and at the end of the month, Ford sends you your bill. So they don't
Oh,
they don't upcharge electricity, from what I understand.
okay, that's interesting.
Jack, that's the scary part during the winter time. So you're trying to heat the bus, and it's the same in the winter time or in the summertime. You're trying to cool the bus, right? So, those are the two. They say you get about 85% instead of 100%. So I'm not sure how it's going to work. It's a little scary, but we're going to try.
Yeah, I hope they'll let you test out one of the vans in the winter. That would be really, sorry, do any of the hospitals actually have vans? Or electric stations right now?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. That
And
would.
Charlene asked a question there. We're
Mhm.
hoping to have our infrastructure completed in about a year and a half's time. And the buses, since they take about a year, they'll be ordered very, very shortly, so that we can have this. Like I said earlier in the conversation, we have to have this whole project done within 2 years. So,
Are you guys worried that it's a tight timeline, or are you pretty confident?
oh, we're pretty confident with the people that we're dealing with. Like, once again, Eco West, they're phenomenal. They do a really good job, and they're really up on this. They call us about every week with more money. So you can get money here, you can get money there. So they're very,
Oh,
very good. So I'll
yeah,
give Danny a plug in. They're about the only people in the province that can do it. They're pretty specialized, and yeah,
yeah.
they've done a really good job for us. So
Yeah, it seems like there's even like more and more every other week, there's new grants for electrification, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. Um, yeah, Kayla's saying that funders understand procurement times are longer, so
yeah,
there's more flexibility in the past. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, it's pretty neat. We're pretty excited. Watch for the announcement on the news on Friday. So we're gonna try to get a hold of this electric bus and bring it back out here for the announcement and stuff. So
That'd be great.
yeah.
Well, awesome. Does anybody else have questions or thoughts? It was kind of I'm excited to see how you guys roll this out, and we'll see what the sustainability for you guys are, and especially the winter
Yeah.
driving times. I'm curious. That'll
Yeah,
be good.
that's gonna be the interesting one, right? So,
Well, it always takes one community or several communities to start innovating, and then it spirals from there, right? So.
yeah.
good
And
on
like
you.
I said earlier, this technology is changing like crazy, so.
Yeah, totally. It'll be interesting to see where we will be in 5 years from now.
Oh, yeah.
Technology.
Yep.
That's awesome. Any final last thoughts or questions? Thank you guys for attending and listening. I know I was really excited to hear, so hopefully it
Yeah,
answers.
if anybody wants to get a hold of me like one-on-one, they can give me a call here in the office, 204-467-9446 is my office number. So don't hesitate to give me a call. We can talk some more and
Yeah, I would actually maybe in the near future, once you guys get this rolling out, maybe we can set up something with Eco West and they can talk about some of their findings and experience, because I know again they're working on the southeastern project as well, so they might be a next person on my list to connect with.
yep. Danny and Gabby are very, very knowledgeable and very, very good at what they do. So
They seem like it. Okay, that's awesome. I don't think there's any other questions, just lots of thank yous. Yeah, thank you so much, Dave. Very
no
much
problem at all.
appreciated.
Glad I could help.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And we will chat soon. And I will post this recording. I'll share it via email and then I'll share it into our Facebook group as well. So I know there's lots of people away at this point in time. So I hope you
Sounds
have
good.
a great week and enjoy the summer.
Thank you very much. Take care,
Bye.
everybody.